Welcome to the Impressive Empress Podcast, where I have heartfelt conversations with women leaders who are making this world more beautiful and lovable. Together, we explore stories of courage, resilience, authenticity, and a lot more. The power skills that help us rise and lead from the heart, creating meaningful impact in the society. Each episode is an inner journey, a reminder that leadership begins within. I'm your host Malathi, and I'm so grateful you're here. Before we dive in, please make sure you follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoy our conversations, leaving a rating or review helps us reach more inspiring women like you. Now, let's get going together. And there's something deeply comforting about stories, especially the ones that bring us back to ourselves. And in a world that's constantly rushing forward, today's conversation is a gentle pause, a return to roots, rhythm, and to meaning. My guest today is Sapna, and she has built something quietly extraordinary. 125,000 subscribers on YouTube and 205,000 followers on Instagram. Not through noise, not trend chasing, but something far more enduring. Through stories, through chanting, through the kind of, the unhurried wisdom that probably reminds me of my grandmother's voice, maybe yours also, even if you have never heard it. So, meet Sapna, the heart and brain behind Stories N Chants, a space where Bharat's ancient scriptures meet everyday life, told simply and with meaning. Where the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Upanishads, and the Puranas are shared in a way that makes them come alive and becomes useful. Sapna is a mother, a teacher of Indian knowledge systems, and someone who made a quiet and courageous choice to preserve what the world was forgetting, one story at a time. And here's what I find remarkable. She didn't arrive here, I suppose, with a media degree, a production team, or a ready-made audience. She arrived with knowledge, conviction, and the willingness to learn everything else along the way. She's not just a content creator. I think it's about courage, calling, and choosing to lead with purpose. Sapna, I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you so much, Malti, for having me here today. I'm having goosebumps with your introduction of myself, but thank you so much for your words. Very kind words, very inspiring words.
Thank you. Thank you, Sapna. I mean, most of us grew with these stories, somewhere in the background, the Ramayana on the Sunday morning television or the Mahabharata that continued, shlokas half memorized, the rituals that we all followed, not knowing why we are doing it. And then life moves fast, yeah? Careers, cities, and screens. But for you, was Sanatana Dharma always a part of your inner world, or did life bring you back to it? And if it was a return, what did it feel like to come home?
So, my dad is practicing Advaitin, if that is a word. So, I got introduced to Vedanta as a concept through him when he was reading so many commentaries on the various Upanishads. And of course, we all as children, we have all sat down and seen Ramanand Sagar's Ramayana and Mahabharata that used to be aired every weekend. So I had that exposure, my dad's storytelling. And I was actually very inspired by my history teacher, especially in the 8th, 9th, 10th standard. So the way she took history, she brought us to tears. She had the whole class crying when she took up the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Literally, the whole class was crying. That caliber teacher we had. And she inspired me on how to bring history alive to everybody around and also to show us what actually happened. Why did it happen? How could it be stopped? What can we learn from such stories? So, yeah, that's been my journey. I've been part of Sanatan. Like, I've been practicing, of course, because our parents are practicing Sanatana Dharmis. We have our rituals, we've got our prayers, we've got our beliefs. So we've been in that. And I think in between, as is the case with every teenager, you have a small break where you don't want to believe in God, you don't want to believe in rituals, and then you come back. For me, thankfully, I think I came back much sooner than a few other teenagers. So it's hardly been maybe 1 or 2 years break, but I was back in its path.
I mean, that kind of inspiration or when parents are into this, I think it's a kind of a natural, so to say. But then teenage happens, and I'm really thankful for your history teacher who kind of inspired you, and also for you to come back to your path. But there's always a moment, right? It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's the quietest of the things, like a child asking a question for which you don't have answers, or a story that suddenly means something it never did before. Was there a specific moment, maybe as a mother, maybe while chanting or telling a story to your child at home, when something stirred in you and said, "This is not just for my family, this needs to go out into the world"? When you started, just as you were starting Stories and Chants. And
Yes, actually.
when that calling came, did you feel ready? Did you say yes before you knew how?
When the calling came, I felt I was not ready at all. I still feel I'm not completely ready, but you do what you have to do. You keep walking. And as Swami Chinmanandaji says, keep walking and the path becomes clear. So that's what I'm doing. The calling came when I was pregnant with my first child, and a relative of mine said, read Bhagavad Gita to the child when the child is in the womb. I think that's when my journey properly started. So over a period of 7 months, we did multiple cycles of proper full Bhagavad Gita Parayanam. So me and my husband, we used to take turns in chanting to the child. We did the same thing with our second child also. And then when my firstborn was about 2 years old, I was talking to my husband and I told him, we need to put him either in Chinmaya Mission, Balvihar classes, or Balvikas classes, anything where he is exposed to culture. Because nowadays the children don't have so much of exposure to culture. They have exposure to Western culture, they have exposure to foreign cultures, but they don't have exposure to their own culture. And I think this is very, very much needed. And I'm a product of that. And I see a change in me. And I would like the same to be given to my children. And he's like, of course, not an issue at all. He is all supportive about it. I started going for Balvihar classes with him because he was too small. He was just about 2.5 maybe. So my second born actually started attending the classes from when she was inside my womb. And they have been students of Balvihar classes till the age of 12. And looking at the way the children were growing, I was inspired by his teacher. She said, you are so dedicated, you are so interested in getting your children over here. Why don't you take the training and why don't you also start your own classes? So I was like, yeah, I don't mind. If it's just once a week, it's not much time spent, So she's like, yeah, please start. So that's how I got into teaching stories and chants to children. And after a few years, the parents are like, is there anything for us? So like the children know more than us right now. So that is how the online recording started.
Oh, I'm so glad. I think, it's really very beautiful. It's never a grand plan. It's always one small, honest conversation that starts everything, right?
Yes.
I mean, that moment becomes something real, something consistent, and eventually you start showing up for thousands of people.
Yes.
And that takes a completely different kind of courage, completely different set of skills that I imagine you had to build from scratch.
Yes.
So tell me about those early days. I want to really get into the unfiltered part of your journey, not the highlights, but the learning curve. Because here's what I think people don't realize, behind every beautifully told story on your channel is a woman who had to figure out the camera, the lighting, the editing, the scripting, the algorithms, my God, and the scheduling.
Yes.
So you had to become more than a teacher or a storyteller, but you had to become a content creator, a curriculum designer, a one-woman production house. Of course, things would have changed now. But
Yes.
tell me about the skills you had to acquire. Which ones came naturally to you, and which are the ones you really had to, really learn and drag yourself?
The storytelling skill, of course, came a bit more naturally to me rather than posting and responding, because I'm not a social media person. I had to open a social media page and get all of this done. So being on social media, responding to all the messages, I had to remind myself every day, now you've got followers, so you please respond to what they are saying, to encourage, kind of to appreciate that they have taken time out to see your content and appreciate your content. So please reciprocate. So, and I am completely non-social media. So that was a very big learning for me. And the ability to speak a little bit more faster. My usual speed is very slow. So I've got family members telling me, Sapna, if you speak like this, people will go to sleep. So please, you pick up your speed, speak a little bit faster. So yes, so that was one more journey. Another was, I was not very comfortable in front of the camera. So the first 1 year of my videos, if you see my old videos on YouTube, the first 1 year, I was very conscious about the camera. Is my face there? Is it looking good? Is my hair okay? Is my dress okay? It took me a very long time to become comfortable in front of the camera. And that was a different journey.
Yeah, I share the journey with you.
I know. Thank you. It's a lot to know that, okay, I'm not alone on this journey.
No, I think we all women have it really difficult in that sense, coming in front of the camera, having a good face and, looking good all the time. I think it is definitely a challenge. And when you know that you have to show up in front of thousands of people, it's an even bigger challenge.
The other challenge was makeup. I don't like makeup. Even for me, lipstick and eyeliner also comes under the branch of makeup. And for me, I have to remind myself, Sapna, just apply something on your eyes, just apply something on your lips, or else you look really bad on camera. So it's till date, it's a reminder I have to set to myself. There are so many times when I've taken videos without any lipstick, without any kajal. I say, okay, the videos come well, so let's just go with it.
Go with it. So when did you start actually? With which year did it all begin?
I think it was 2022 December. We officially started posting videos. It's been about 4 years now.
Very inspiring. I mean, it's more inspiring because you didn't have all the skills. You just built them as you went along. And
yes,
I think underneath of all that practical learning, I think the real foundation was your knowledge of the texts themselves, the knowledge that no course could teach you. It came through years of your study, maybe from your parents or from the Balavihar. Of course, you must have picked up a lot of those stories. And it must be kind of quietly working in the background.
Yes.
So, I mean, mastering these texts, really mastering them, not just summarizing them, I think it's a very profound skill, the skill of deep listening, of sitting with complexity. And sometimes, when I read them, it just feels like, what does it want to tell me, But you seem to be kind of simplifying the whole thing. And how do you do that?
One, I have not mastered any text. I only read them. I read them and sometimes they stay with me. Sometimes I have to reread them multiple times for it to stay with me. And I simplified them because children don't have the patience to listen to what can I learn from this story. For them, it's more of a story that they are interested in. the dramatics of it, the sound of it, the war, the feelings behind it. So I think because I started telling them stories in such a way, and when parents also used to gather sometimes when we celebrate festivals with the children and the parents together, the parents were also hooked because it was more of emotion. It was more of the event itself rather than telling this is what you're getting from the story. This is the moral behind the story. I leave it up to the parents. This is a story that I'm telling. What you want to take from it is yours. And for everybody, the takeaway from a single story is different. It's not always the same. So why lead them up to taking the story? So sometimes I give my opinion of the story. This is what my take of the story is. This is what I have understood of the story. Is this something that you have also understood? Is what I want to share with the people.
I mean, I really find it very, very admirable because you give a very different perspective of the story, something that I have not really thought of. I mean, it's really very beautiful, the work that you're doing. And how do you choose which text you want to take up today? Or do you go by selecting, this is the moral I want to focus today? Or do you simply take out the Ramayana, open the book, take out a page and, okay, this is what I want to share today? How do you go about it?
The stories come to me. Suddenly that story flashes. And I remember, so many of these stories have been told to us by our elders in the family. So we don't know from which source the story has come from. So the stories just kind of flashes into my mind, and then I sit down and I start thinking from which text is the story from. And that I do the research, and that's how the story comes in front. But how do I choose? I don't choose. The stories come to me by themselves. They come to me and say, this is a time where this particular story has to be heard, so you please say it.
Okay. That's very, very honest, straight from the heart.
I hope it does not disillusion anybody.
I mean, there's one line that Swami Vivekananda has quoted. In a conflict between your heart and the head, follow your heart. So have you had such conflicts like, okay, the stories come to you, but when you open the text, you find, when you take a book or, you find something else more interesting, but what do you follow? Like, does the text follow you or the story follow you? Or is it strictly based on your knowledge? And how do you go about it?
So it's not strictly based on my knowledge because we know the stories that have been given to us by our elders, and I research that particular story. And when I'm researching the story, of course, I get a lot of additional stories. So I start making notes. Okay, this story is possible. This story is possible. So I actually end up reading multiple chapters, not only about that story, but with added stories. So then they keep playing in my mind, waiting for an opportunity to be told. How do I choose? I don't. Once I authenticate the story, it's sometimes contradictory to what I have been told as a child. So in this process of researching, I have learned a lot of original stories, I could say, truer stories that has been actually written down the way it happened, rather than what was passed on by word of mouth. And there is a lot of difference in them. And
True.
Yeah. So that has made this whole journey very interesting for me and has made me more passionate about finding out from where the source of the story came from. Is it a legend that has been passed on by word of mouth? Is it a story from a Puran? Is it a story from the Itihasas? Sometimes Vedas also have a lot of stories in them. So does it come from the Vedas? So what is it? Which is the source?
I mean, it's a very beautiful thing, like doing all this research and then it keeps playing at the back of your mind, waiting for an opportune moment. I think this is where all the wisdom stops being just knowledge and starts being lived. And I think that's exactly what makes Sapna's Stories and Chants feel the way it does, right? I mean, it's not just a woman who's just studied the texts, and I think you're someone who's been shaped by them.
Yes.
And when I look at what you have built, I mean, I'm just reminded of Sarojini Naidu's quote, which says, "A country's greatness lies in its women." So when I look at what you have built, I don't just see a creator. I see a mother, a teacher, someone who preserves culture, a curriculum builder, all living inside one person and all showing up at the same time. How do you manage the learning alongside living? Because acquiring new skills, whether it is Sanskrit pronunciation or planning curriculum, lesson planning for children, or actually recording, it could be editing, it could be recording, it could be, the simple lighting. All of this is a skill that needs to be acquired. Everything takes time and energy, which
Yes.
mothers don't always have. So, how do you manage that?
With an extremely excellent support system. That's my family.
Mm-hmm.
Without this support system, it's just not possible. So, right from my husband to my in laws, to my parents, to my children, everybody supported. They give me their ideas. And my husband is more technically knowledgeable than I am. So he guides a lot. Many of the videos he has shot, he has edited. So he also critiques, like when I'm talking on the camera, he says, okay, you sit straighter like this, start moving your hands so that don't appear very still. So a lot of feedback from him, a lot of feedback from my children about how I'm appearing on the camera, and support from my in-laws in the sense that I'm free to step out to do all of this without having to think, what am I leaving behind? Because that support system for that behind is taken care of.
Mm.
So that worry is not there, and that plays such a major role in this.
Mm.
Yes.
I can believe it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you started in the year 2022, did people around you, like your family and friends, did they truly understand what you were building? How did you build that support system? Did you have to build it, or it was there on a platter for you?
It was there because they have always
So
been
true.
very supportive right from the time I got married into the family. So it's not
Mm.
something that they had to build when the video started. And the video started, I think, just when COVID was getting over and people were opening up and coming out.
Mm.
That's when the video started. So most of the videos that time I was taking it in the house. So it was a little bit irritating for them because I had to maintain a quiet environment and the children were 4 years younger. So they were more naughtier. So making them understand, please be quiet at least for half an hour so I can take one video. So it took a lot of cooperation from everybody to do this.
Yeah. I can imagine. I mean, this honesty with which you're saying is going to stay with a lot of women who are listening to this today, because you're describing something so real. The invisible labor that goes into content creation, because it's not just that one person whom we see. It's
Yes.
a whole lot of people behind supporting us, with there's no fanfare, there's no support team initially when you started, I think.
Yes.
And there's also no guarantee that it would work.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, it wasn't always smooth, I think.
No.
Every journey that looks calm on the outside has its storms within.
Yes.
So, what were your challenges? The ones people never see when they watch your content? Because
The
I
s-
think there are times when the technology doesn't cooperate. I hope it does today. When
no, I
the
think
content,
it will.
it will, yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we have these network issues, or maybe, all the text that you learned, the story comes to you, but then it has to come the way it was prepared right at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what were your challenges?
My challenge was how to be concise in my stories. So that's one challenge that I faced. I tend to say very long stories, and not
Hmm.
everybody has the time or the patience to listen to a very long winded story. And our motto or our goal was to reach shorter stories to larger number of people, because now with the way media has been going on, the exposure to social media, not everybody has that much of time in their hands to listen to very long videos. So
Yeah.
our motto, or I would say our, what do you call that? The biscuit, the takeaway, or the snap. The snap of our
Mm-hmm.
channel was that all stories are about 2.5 minutes. So getting that big story concise into a minute, maybe 2 minutes, was a challenge. And holding the spirit of the story after shortening it, that also was a challenge. So thankfully, my channel is not a one-woman show. It is a team. It started out with me and my husband. So I used to write the stories. He used to edit it. I used to re-edit it. And that is the content that's coming to you. So there is
Has
a
to
lot
be,
of
right?
work. Yes, it has to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was one challenge that we faced. Second was how I was hesitant in front of the camera because I was so conscious. My words were not coming out very continuously. It was break, stop, break, think. And the pauses sometimes used to be really long. And my husband was like, don't think so much. You already know the story. Be confident and just say it. And, say it at a proper speed so people are caught on and they want to hear more. So that was a little bit of a challenge when I started out. I hope I'm crossing that challenge now. I'm a little bit more faster in my storytelling right now. So that was another challenge. Third, as I told you, was looking good in front of the camera, which was never a priority for me. And I had to make it a priority because camera sometimes can be very cruel.
Absolutely.
So what is the cutoff point that I can keep? I can do so much and I'm comfortable with it and I'll do so much. I'll ensure that I look decent. I don't look pale. I don't look washed out. I look well groomed. That much I can do for myself. That much you do. So that also was starting hiccup was there. But now I think it is a little bit better. Now it is in the flow of it.
Yeah. I think, thank you for going there, because really, I think the most powerful thing a woman like you can do is to tell the truth about the hard parts. And you just did that with such grace. I mean, this is always, the doubt, and it keeps, the back of our head. It's going to tell you, this is not going to work out, you're not doing fine, and all of those things. I think we need to really push ourselves past that. And I think for you, there must have been a moment when it all came real. The skills, you can learn them, you can practice them, you can get better at them. But then at some moment, it stops feeling like skills and starts feeling like a calling. And that's a different kind of shift altogether. So you did mention some time back that it was kind of a calling, but was it a kind of a response to somebody's comment or a child asking you something that made you pause and think, yes, this is actually making a difference? And when did Stories and Chants stop being something you were building, but becoming something that you were living?
It started with Balvihar classes where I was taking a lot of stories in a very active manner with the children, which the children used to go home and share with their parents. And this was heard by one of my friends who is a parent herself, and she's also a counselor. And she said, I have this group of parents who are very interested in what you're doing with the children. Can something be done for them? Can you post something? I said, see, they are ready to come gather, for the classes. At the end of the class, they can come and they can sit and listen. She's like, not everybody can travel and come. It becomes a bit difficult. So can you do something online? And that is when the whole idea started that, yeah, we can do something. I can record a story and you can put it up in your group and see if it works, if they're still very interested in it. And that's how it started. And then my husband was like, if you're any which ways posting a story on Facebook group, why not create your own channel? You can take the same content and you can share it in a much more wider audience. And that's how Stories N Chants were born. And what changed it was the interview is there online where I took the interview of my Balvihar children. and asked them various questions. And one of the question was, which character inspired you in Ramayana? Because we were doing Ramayana text at that time with the children, and this girl was 8, maybe 9 years old. And pat comes the answer. She didn't even have to think. She just said Vibhishana. And I was surprised. Vibhishana is an asura. He was a very good king. He was a very good man, but he was an asura. And you don't hear this answer. You would hear Hanumanji, you would hear Rama, you would hear Lakshmana. There's so many other characters. And she said Vibhishana. I was like, why? Her answer, that is what floored me and then made me realize that yes, change through stories is possible. So she gave me the answer saying that Vibhishana's brother was not very good. And Vibhishana knew that Ravana what he had done was wrong. And he went and told his brother, what you're doing is wrong. The brother didn't listen. Even after repeated requests, Ravana didn't listen. So Vibhishana actually left his brother and joined Rama, who is Ravana's enemy. So he actually technically joined the enemy, joined hands with him to fight against his brother who is bad. And that kind of act takes so much of courage. And that is what inspired me to go against your own blood, to go against your own brother, but having a value that your brother is breaking those values and that not sitting right with you and you choosing the correct values and choosing Rama's side, that is what inspired me. And that is why I like Vibhishana a lot. And that answer floored me. Frankly,
Absolutely.
I never thought of it like that. And this was a 9-year-old speaking. And I was so impressed with her. I was like, okay, change can happen through stories.
Absolutely. I mean, this gives me goosebumps, a 9-year-old with such clarity.
Yes.
And I mean, honestly, this is the moment that makes all the, the learning curve, the hours that we put in, every late night, every moment of self-doubt, completely worth it. Yeah. I mean, it tells me that the important skill that you have developed isn't just technical. I think it's a skill of translation, of taking something so vast and so ancient, but making it land directly in a human's heart. It's simply told with meaning. 4 words. These 4 words carry enormous responsibility because simplicity itself is a skill. It's not so simple. Yes. Actually, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not at all easy. And it first requires you to go very deep into your studies, deep enough into the text that you can find the essence, then come all the way back up and offer it in a way that a child, a 9-year-old or a 7-year-old, doesn't matter, or a tired mother, or a young person scrolling at midnight actually receives that. So how do you develop that skill of translation? Or is it something that you discovered?
I think it's a skill that happened in this journey itself. From when I started the Balavihar classes, I had to develop that skill. I have never told stories to children before. I have not told stories to anyone before. But when my children were small and they joined my own class and other children, and they were very small, they were 5 years, they were 6 years. So they were so innocent and so ready to listen to everything that you were saying. It became a responsibility. What I'm saying matters. So, kind of mind what you are saying and how you are saying it. What is it that you are conveying to these young minds? So that restraint or that control helped a lot in this journey, I think. And that's how that skill developed in making it more simple. Children are the best critics. Children are the best listeners, I would say.
Yeah. And they are also the best mirrors that reflect all that's good, bad, and ugly.
Yes, I agree.
But what you actually described is, I think it's a form of a seva or a service. You're not simplifying for the sake of reach. Of course, you want to condense it to 2.5 minutes. But I feel that you're simplifying it more out of love for the person on the other end, and to do that simply, consistently over the years, over so many episodes. I mean, that requires something in you that is constantly being replenished. So, how do you keep that fire burning? I mean, 2022 to 26, it's like 4 years. And how many episodes would it be?
About 500 plus videos now.
Yeah, consistency on social media, that's a big thing, I would say. But
That's all thanks to the support system that I have. Being consistent, it's all because of their push. Like today is a day to post, today is a day to take it. I have the push behind. So even on days when I don't feel like, because of the push, because of the support, I end up doing it. So there are days. I'm not saying that all days are rose days, very flowery and very perfect. No, there are very bad days also where I don't want to go in front of the camera. I don't want to speak to anybody. But those are the days when I push myself and I take the videos, and some of them have taken off really well. When I had a doubt, like I was not feeling so good. So the videos may not have come out so very good. But contrary to what I thought, that the videos did remarkably well. And that's when I realized no matter what I am feeling or going through, when you have to do something, you put everything aside and you just go do it.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're tired, whether you feel heavy, you're not in a mood.
No.
Your imagination has gone dry. I think it's a commitment that we have made. I think you have made to yourself, and you have to deliver.
Yes.
Yeah. But then, do you have some personal practices like a chant or a ritual that kind of, you have to push yourself, but what is it that you tell yourself? How does Sapna do when Sapna needs the wisdom she teaches?
I go to Gayatri Mantra. I do the Gayatri Mantra jap. And that really grounds me. That really helps me. It gives me a lot of clarity. It gives me a lot of strength. I'm not extremely consistent with my japa, but when I do it, it gives me a lot of strength and a lot of clarity. So it's not a joke when the ancients say the Gayatri Mantra is very powerful. It clears your mind, it opens your mind, and it opens your mind to knowledge. And the way you acquire that knowledge, you process that knowledge, and what you keep, it really helps. And I have experienced it. At least in my storytelling, I have experienced it.
I mean, this is so lovely to hear. I mean, so grounding to hear that even the person who holds the light goes looking for that same light sometimes. And you have a very wonderful light outside and within. And that's the most human and the most beautiful thing about whatever you do. Yeah, you've built skills, you've built an audience, yes. But what is it that you're doing now? After all, long after the last video is posted, long after all the algorithms have moved on to something new, long after the world has rushed on to whatever comes next, you have passed on the knowledge, you have passed on the skills to children who can now chant, to adults who now see their traditions differently, to mothers who now have the language for what they have always felt but couldn't name. What do you want to be remembered for? What is the legacy that you want to leave for the children, for the world, and the mothers and seekers who come after you?
Okay, that's a very deep question. The legacy that I want to leave behind is the beauty behind stories, is the depth behind the stories. The stories may seem very simple, but there's so much more to when you actually listen to it again and again and again. There is so much that you can take away from each of these stories. And that is a legacy I want to leave behind for the world. The stories are out there. You have an opportunity to listen to those stories, and what you take away from it is for you. What you learn from it is from you. And every time you hear it again and again, I can assure you that you will get a completely different meaning from that story. That's the beauty I want to
Absolutely.
leave behind.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm really very, very inspired by this conversation. And there's so much more that we could talk about, but I guess I want to kind of bring it to a good end with some rapid fire questions.
Okay,
Are you
no
ready?
problem. Yes, I'm ready.
What are the three things you're grateful for in life?
The support system, um, my interest or my passion in reading is something that I'm really grateful for, because if that wasn't there, I would not be able to say the stories. I'm grateful for being born in the world, in the circumstances that I am in right now, for everything that has brought me up to this particular point in my life. Everything had to happen the way it happened, and for that, I am very grateful. The ups as well as the downs. I would not be here today without both of them. So for that, I am deeply grateful.
Beautiful. What are the three things that worries you about leadership today?
Authenticity. I don't know whether all the leaders are actually very authentic. Do they know themselves? And are they staying true to themselves when they are leading others? That's a very major worry for me. Accountability, because not everybody takes a responsibility for what is happening outside. Passing the buck is a very common thing, and I'm seeing that happen too many times. So I'm a bit scared that the leaders that are there, these are the kind of leaders that are coming. I'm not saying that all of the leaders are like this, but there are quite a big percentage of leaders who are not very authentic, are not who don't take accountability for things that are happening. Yeah, and I would say strength and perseverance to face everything. That's another thing I know leaders are supposed to have it. No matter what happens, you stand up and face it with strength, with belief, or with trust that yes, everything will work out. And that's not something everybody has. So these are the
Hmm.
three things that I fear.
Okay. Where do your best ideas come from, and what can others do to get more creative at this? You said your stories come to you, but is there a ritual that you do? How do they come to you?
I read a lot. I read a lot. So the stories are from that. And I read a lot of Puranas, like not only one, like Shiv Purana is there, Linga Purana is there, Skanda Purana is there. So a lot of stories are things that I have picked up as I am reading. And I have read a lot of retellings. I've read a lot of commentaries. So they stay. And this habit of mine has been there from when I was maybe 8, 9 years old. So it has developed over decades. So I wouldn't say that this story is something that I read now. It is a story I would have heard when I was 8 years, 9 years old. So
Hmm.
there is no mantra, there is no ritual. It is just plain reading. That's it, with focus.
Yeah, hard work pays, as always. Your top time management tip for balancing your different roles effectively.
Oh, I'm a very bad person for that because I have people tell me, Sapna, manage your time well, because I'm not a very good time manager. Sometimes when I start reading, I go hours into reading. Um, I think what sometimes works when I make myself sit down and do it is to list out the things that I need to do on that particular day. And at the end of the day, sit down and see how many of those things I have finished and how many gets carried forward, for the next day. That helps. If I am consistent, that has really helped me. I need to work on the consistency. I'm being very frank. I am not very organized. So consistency is an issue with me. But when I am consistent and when I do things like this, yes, things get done on time. Or else it is like I'm juggling a lot of balls. Sometimes they go in high speed and I am wondering, am I going to drop one? Am I going to drop one? And the days when everything is sorted, it's a very comfortable juggle. So I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm being very frank. I have no idea whether that's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, in this podcast, there are no right or wrong answers. It's just the way you have lived your life. It has worked for you well, and we just want to learn from you. So, is there an app or tool that you can't live without for your content creation?
Oh, so Google, of course, because a lot of our scriptures have been uploaded on the web. I don't always get, because how you don't have enough space to keep all of the books in your house. So you have to download the books. And there are a lot of digital libraries that have these Puranas, the Purans, that have been translated into English, because English is my go-to language. I'm more comfortable in that language. Though I do read Hindi, because it's a language that I have done till my 10th standard. So I do read Hindi, and then the translation takes a little bit of a hit. Unfortunately, I know I'm a Sanatana Dharmi and I love my language. I speak my mother tongue a lot, but it's not the formal language. I don't know how to read and write it. I know how to speak it. The same with Hindi. I know how to read and write it, but when I speak it, it's with an accent. So that gives me a little bit of a complex. Whereas with English, I'm very comfortable, and that's a source that I usually go for. The only hitch being I have to depend a little bit. Some of the translations are from foreign sources. So then I have to start doing research on which Indian author has translated our ancient texts. And some of them are really very old. So yes, as a tool, the web is something that I cannot do without for this, because that digital library is a go-to for me.
Hmm. And what is your favorite scripture or text that you return to often?
The Shiva Puran. I really love the story. One, because Bhagwan is one of the first ones I think about, the last ones I think about. When I wake up with him in my mind. When I go to sleep with him in my mind. He is there. And I love listening to his stories, and I love reading about his stories. And it's my go-to text. And there is everything in Shiv Puran. You've got romance, you've got war, you've got mistrust, you've got betrayal. Everything is there in Shiv Puran. So it's a very interesting read.
Okay. What are 3 ways you implement self-care?
Consciousness, being conscious that you have to take some time out for yourself. Second, planning the time out and ensuring that you take the time out. So first is deciding inside your head that you need time for yourself. Planning what part of the day can you give to yourself. And the third is taking that time and giving it to yourself.
Yeah. I think the first 2 would be done. The last one is where there's
Very
always,
difficult. Yes.
very
We keep
difficult.
pushing it
Yeah.
out, saying that, okay, after I get this done, okay, after they go to sleep, or, after I get this work done, doesn't always happen.
Yeah. What is one quality in women leaders you admire the most?
Their ability to adapt, their flexibility, and also their ability to juggle a number of things at the same time. These are things that I really admire.
Okay. What is probably a word or a phrase that would describe leadership for you?
Guide, who shows us the path. He empowers us with his own life, with his own experiences, or with her own life and her own experiences. They are guides. They show us how it could be and how it has to be.
Beautiful. Which is your most challenging role? Being a mother, teacher, or a creator?
Mother. Everything else is an also ran, but being a mother is very tough.
Very tough.
It's very rewarding.
But I hear you. Yeah. Sapna, this has been more than just a conversation. I've enjoyed it so thoroughly. So it has been with all the other conversations, but This has been a reminder that purpose doesn't have to be, loud to be powerful. That oldest stories are often the most needed ones today more than ever. And that one woman who taught herself everything she needed to learn, never losing sight of why she was learning it, can keep something alive that the world was quietly losing. Thank you so much for the knowledge you carry. Thank you for the skills you have built. And thank you for all the stories that you're making. Sure, will not be forgotten.
Thank you so much, Malti, for your kind words, your beautiful words. As I said, I've got goosebumps all over me because of what you have said. So thank you so much for this. I've had a wonderful time conversing with you. And I didn't even realize how long it's been that we have been talking. It is like we just started the conversation now, and now it's time to end. So it is a lot of fun talking to you. Thank you so much. And all of your questions made me think more about myself too.
Yeah, that was the idea. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show, for your time, and for all the wisdom that you have shared. You've been sharing and you'll continue to share, but specifically for this podcast. And to everyone listening, maybe you don't have the skills yet. Maybe the path isn't clear. Maybe you're still in those early uncertain days. But I think so was Sapna. And look at what she has built. Like she quoted from Swami Chinmayananda, keep walking and the path will indeed become clearer. Your journey doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to begin. This is the Impressive Empress Podcast, where women don't just lead, they transform from within. Until the next time, take care.